Good day. This is Terry Difazio, and you're watching Soundcheck. This is my partner in crime, the incredible Todd Pronto, and we have lots to talk about today, as told to me by our producer, Tracy Ashman.
Okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
she's laid out the list, and she told me if
She checked it twice?
I don't know if she checked. Did you check it twice, Tracy?
Yes.
She did. Oh, okay. So, starting right off, we're going to be discussing a lot of things, year in review, all that good stuff. We're going to start off with talking about Hungerfest.
Oh, yes.
Why don't you fill us in on that one, Todd?
That was back in October. I don't recall the exact date, but Hungerfest is something that was started years back when I used to work for the radio station with Devaney, and we used to camp out in an RV and collect food for the food shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got done at the radio station, there was a big hole left in the food shelf. We always did it around Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving.
By the way, am I allowed to say that when you and Devaney left, there was a big hole left in Moo? Am I allowed to say that?
You can say that.
Okay, I'm saying it. There was a big hole left in Moo. What little entertainment value that was there is now gone. So, hey, sue me if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they will. They probably don't watch this show.
Hopefully, they don't. They're smart, they won't.
Anyway, the food shelf kind of depended on that food that came in because we got tons and tons of food and money donations. And so about was this the fourth one? No, this would be the third. Well, it is the fourth one. About 4 years ago, we decided we've got to do something. So we said, let's do a concert. And the very first one was done with all local people. There was Wayne Warner and myself, and that didn't raise a ton of money. So some other groups got involved, and they said, well, if we donate some money, let's get a big artist that we can afford up here, because some artists cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time we did it was with Jonathan Edwards, who sang the song Sunshine back in the 70s, and he actually came up twice, and it was able to, with the donations from the local businesses, it was able to raise enough money to buy the equivalent of the amount of food that we used to.
Oh, well, that's good.
And this year was the biggest one to date, and it was Livingston Taylor that came up, and it was a completely different scenario. We always used to do it at the Haskell Opera House. We did it at Lyndon State College. Got the students involved. That
would be a big help. Plus, the sound system was probably pretty good.
It was a very good sound system.
Yeah, they're pretty top notch down there.
Yeah, they have a great theater. It's called the Alexander Twilight Theater.
Yep.
And I'm not I actually don't know what kind of speakers they were using.
At one time they were using EVs, but I'm not sure what they have now.
It probably still was EVs. And they actually changed it around a lot. So when you go into the Alexander Twilight Theater, above the doors when you walk in, there's this huge glass booth that they used to do the sound and lights from. Now they only do the lights from there because they realize that when you're enclosed in glass, you're not hearing what the rest of the theater's hearing.
No.
So you're hearing almost effectively like a monitor mix, but you're not hearing what's going out in the house. So they set up their board right in the back, behind the back row, and they were actually out there. And I have a picture that I can send you that you can post here of the board, and it's cool because it says Livingston Taylor on the board, and then it says Todd on the board. It's spelled with 2 D's, but what are you going to do? I was just the opening act.
Yes, and when you're the opening act, they'll put as many D's on you as they want.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to spell it wrong, put 3. Go for it,
That's a good concept.
I should do that. My mother always, my legal name is 2 D's, but I've spelled it with 1 D since I was in high school. She always wanted the extra D. Maybe I should start spelling it with 3 as a compromise.
Either that or do what I did. Legally change your name.
Change it, yeah.
Yeah.
I've thought about it, but I feel like she'd haunt me if I did that.
Ooh, the haunting.
But yeah, it raised I don't know the exact number, but because I haven't actually been told it, but it was at least $30,000.
No, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I don't know what Livingston cost, but they that's one thing people have asked me, like, well, why don't you get why didn't you get James Taylor? And I'm like, well, he's a lot more money, like probably $80,000 more. And I don't know if Alexander Twilight Theater is big enough to hold the crowd that would come to see James Taylor.
Yeah,
so you'd have to charge a lot for tickets.
That isn't that big of a place, is it?
It only sits. It sits 500, I believe.
Oh, okay. I figured around that. Yeah.
But you know those wings that are up in the back? If they close those off, then just the down part sits like 275.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't use the wings for that. It was full. The bottom half was full, so there was maybe 275 to 300 people there.
Okay.
But yeah, super cool. It was really neat that the students were involved. They did all the tech stuff, the light stuff. They were stagehands.
Well, they probably did that for a grade, and because they have a very good recording and sound engineering department there.
Television department too.
Yeah, they're very good at that.
Which I didn't actually. So behind the stage is where the TV studio is, and they were doing their news at the time. So our dressing rooms were actually down the hall because we couldn't use the backstage dressing rooms because they were all running around with news people, and so they said that would be a little confusing, and they might spill makeup on your guitars. And I was like, yeah, I don't need a dressing room anyway.
Well,
I came dressed.
Well, that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Now, compared to the Haskell, it was an easier venue to play.
It was, yeah. It doesn't have that historic feel that the Haskell does, but you know what's really great about the Haskell, but it might work as a disadvantage to a certain extent, is it's such a live room. The Haskell's incredibly live, where you don't really even need amplification. If you were just speaking to a group of 300 people on the stage at the Haskell Opera House, you don't need a microphone. The way they designed it way back then, before microphones and PA systems, it was designed for that. But the sound engineer has to be incredibly careful at that point for just unwanted frequencies and feedback. And Lyndon's theater is fairly dead. It's a fairly quiet theater, and I think the sound ended up being real great because of that.
Yeah,
they weren't fighting frequencies and
standing waves and reverb and slap echo and all that stuff. Yeah,
and it's not an incredibly complicated stage setup. I had a microphone and a DI box. And Livingston had a DI box and a microphone, and then another microphone and a piano mic, and that was it. But what was really neat, and the way that it was mic'd and the way that room is Livingston Taylor gets to a point where he almost whispers to the crowd, and he draws them in, and you could hear him. I was sitting, so the part that was closed off in the back, that's where I sat for the show, all by myself, isolated.
With all your friends?
With all my friends.
Oh, okay.
I could hear him whispering back there. So the sound travels in there, but it doesn't bounce around. I don't know if it's part of the design. I mean,
probably is.
Yeah, it's brick.
Yeah,
it's a weirdly designed little theater.
Yeah,
but it was cool.
I noticed that when I was in high school, the high school that I started in was built in, I think, 1921.
Yeah.
And it was very, very live and, rather echoey. And the PA consisted of one speaker on the wall halfway up the hallway of the auditorium. And when they built a new high school, they put speakers over the stage facing at the audience, and everything was angled, so there wasn't really a lot of standing waves, much like North Country.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of standing waves, which is good, because that's not what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want something where you have a lot of sound bouncing around, a lot of standing waves, and and echo and things like that.
North Country is actually a pretty dead sounding room too. It would be nice to do Hungerfest at North Country. I've actually had people ask why we don't do it, and the reason why we don't do it is Jonathan Edwards and Livingston Taylor aren't going to sell 900 tickets or 800, and the high school sits 800 and it's just under 900. They're not going to sell it. 200 people in an 800-seat theater looks like a really bad turnout. 200 people in a 300-seat theater is a good audience.
Yeah.
So maybe if they can afford James Taylor next year, we could do it in North Country.
Well, I suppose you could invite Nightwish or Slayer or.
I have a feeling they're still out of the budget.
Okay.
You know, I think these guys are getting under 10,000. So I know they're getting more than me, but that's not why I do it.
Yeah.
And it exposes me to a new audience, and I get to meet. Well, I mean, I got to open for James Taylor's brother. That's cool.
Yeah, it sure is. I think, in my opinion, the Haskell's a great venue.
I love it, yeah.
But if you want a really good modern sound, I think Linden State would be far preferable.
Yeah. The Haskell certainly has its attributes. I mean, it's a much more beautiful place, and it's historic. And believe it or not, it has more bathrooms. Readily available. And it has dressing. The Linden State doesn't really have dressing rooms. My dressing room was a classroom, which was the music theory classroom or something. It was huge. I had this huge dressing room with about 30 seats and a projector. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet they give you a good light show too, didn't they?
They did, yeah. And I actually didn't really notice it, but I had my friend Paul video record it and take a tap out of the board with his camera. And when I watched it back, they dimmed the lights on the slower songs and bring them up, and it wasn't like flashy or anything, but they did a really good lighting job. And the monitor was great. You could hear everything. It's the first thing I noticed when most of the shows I don't have the luxury of having, I do a lot of coffee houses and stuff, so you don't have the luxury of having a monitor. And the first thing I did is I went out and I did a Neil Young song. I did The Needle and the Damage Done.
Okay.
So I figured it was a topical song for everything going on with the opioid crisis and everything.
Yeah.
And when I started singing it, I was like, wow, I can hear myself great. So it must be the audience can hear it even better, because the audience always hears better than what the artist does, I feel like.
Yeah. Except cool. If you're in the situation where you've got somebody that can give you 4 monitor mixes.
Yeah.
Which I've never been able to quite figure that out. I know it can be done. I've seen it done, but I don't quite... Nobody ever really explained it. I think it has to do with sending things to your subgroups.
Yeah, it does.
But
I think the most I've ever done is the drummer had a monitor, I had a monitor, and then like the bass player... No, the bass player and the drummer had to share a monitor. The lead guitarist had his own, and then I had my own. So I had 3 was the most I ever had.
Yep.
But I don't play in bands anymore because I can't afford it.
Yeah. Or they can't afford you.
They can't afford me. Nah, I like doing the folk thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great. It raised a lot of money. It stocked the food shelf up. I believe they're doing it again next year. I don't think they've hired the artist yet. So you can put your votes in. Keep it, under $80,000 and see. I don't think Nightwish would come for... What do you think they charge?
I don't even know, but you know what? I do have an in with their management. And I do get to ask them questions, and all I know is they play places 1,500 to 2,000, and you're paying 125 or more, depending if you want meet and greet. So
they're making 100.
Yeah,
100,000.
And somebody else has got to pay for all the roadies and the equipment, and the trucking, and for the band and whatnot. But
well, that's the thing. You break it down I'll just use who's a high-grossing act right now.
Joe Bonamassa.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect.
Who I'm going to deviate from our script, and I hope Tracy doesn't beat me. But I just saw him, so you go ahead with Joe Bonamassa.
Yeah, all I was really going to say is, say he charges $250,000. I don't know what he really charges. Joe Bonamassa is not making $250,000 that night. He's got to. I think Bonamassa has 2 tractor trailer trucks that go with him. Oh yeah, his lighting crew is. Bonamassa maybe. I'd say if he made $250,000 to play the Flynn, I bet Bonamassa made 50. What do you think?
Yeah, he had to pay his band.
Yep.
He's got to pay his road crew. He's got to pay for transportation. They have to pay for a place to stay. They got to pay for their food.
Yeah.
All that has to be figured in.
Yeah. I mean, and $50,000 isn't bad for one night, but
No, hey, 10,000 wouldn't be bad for one night, but these big
$10 wouldn't be bad for some nights.
Yeah. Your touring acts like that. If you saw and I just saw Joe Bonamassa. I think it was maybe a month ago over at the Flynn Theater. If you saw the sound system and the lighting system that he has, you'd say to yourself, boy, this was quite an effort.
I've been told that his stage rig is the slang for what he plays through. I've been told it's pretty extensive. Like, it's like 4 or 5 certain amplifiers all patched together, and I guess he's got I guess he's coming with thousands of dollars worth of stuff just for his guitars to plug in.
Well, I did get to speak to their sound, their front of house.
Yeah.
FOH for the rest of you out there.
Fa.
Fa.
Fa la la la.
And he said that they were running L-acoustic. Now, some people call it L-acoustic, some people call it L'Acoustic. It's the same thing. They're made in France. They're incredible. I've seen 2 bands use their equipment.
Yeah.
And each side of the stage had 12 of these in a line array. And across the front of the stage, there was 5 more facing straight out at the audience in front. And when I spoke to their engineer, I forgot that when I spoke to the people up in Quebec City, they are not self-powered. They have separate amplifiers. And
Wow.
I asked him what they were using for subwoofers. He said, "We don't need them. These have a wide enough frequency range. We didn't need them." And it was bassy enough without being so bassy that it was annoying. Because some places
I hate that.
the bass is way too heavy. They overdo the bass. So I thought it was a great sound, and they easily had enough to deafen everybody in there if they wanted to. That system was amazing.
The Flynn doesn't have their own.
No, and they should.
Yeah, because it's always the band that comes in there has to bring their own stuff.
Yep, like the Lebanon Opera. Lebanon Opera House was thinking about putting in a house system, and I think they should, because everywhere Nightwish plays, they don't bring the only thing they bring is they bring their instruments, their guitar amps, and their mixing console.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
The amplifiers, the speakers, everything is a house system.
Save them a lot of time, but then they have to deal with whatever the house system is, right?
Yeah, and according to Nightwish's writer back in 2005, they had 5 or 6 that they
Approved.
that they recommended and strongly urged that you use. One of which was L-acoustic. One was Claire Audio. Meyer Sound was another one. I'm trying to think. EAW's Eastern Acoustic Works.
Yeah.
Nowhere on that list did I see JBL or Peavey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't see it. I think Electro Voice might have been on that list, and there was another one that I'd never heard of. But Claire seems to be a very, very big one right now. A lot of bands are using Claire. Turbo Sound was another one they liked.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it makes a big difference. But I guess on the plus side, with how much equipment Bonamassa is bringing in, anyways, might as well bring your own speakers. Because you're familiar with them. But yeah, I would love to see him live someday. I couldn't swing the price this time around. I'm not complaining about the price. I just didn't have the extra funds to do it this time. But he comes to the Flynn every once in a while.
He did an acoustic show a year ago.
Yeah, I probably would have really liked that.
Yeah, and he made comment about it, and a certain politician that incited riots or whatever. He didn't allude to any names, but he was alluding to who it was, and how Bonamassa's mom was upset that he was playing in such a hostile environment as Burlington, Vermont.
He's from upstate New York, right? So.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah.
A hostile environment.
So anyways, I'll segue that into the next segment on the list, and that was the new DVD by Delain, their 10th anniversary.
That's right.
Which was recorded in the Netherlands.
Yep.
We have permission to show it. I've shown it several times. It's worth seeing. You really should see this. I wish. It's called Delain 10th Anniversary Live at the Paradiso Theater, and it is cool rather theater. Incredible. An hour and 50 minutes of pure, beautiful sound. They had, I guess, a former drummer and a former bass player come on for one song. They superimposed Marco Haitala of Nightwish to do a couple of songs with his voice. You saw it superimposed in the back of them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, quite interesting to see. And they even had a couple of other people come in and sing with them, one of which she was terrible. I don't know who she was. Then there was another woman who did a lot of growling and rasping, and then she sang beautiful harmony. So, go figure.
She must do some vocal training to be able to switch between those two.
Oh, yeah. It was rather, she was growling and rasping for a while, and then all of a sudden she's singing right along with Miss Charlotte, just like it was her twin. You know, the harmony was great. So all of you people out there, you really need to see this new Delain DVD, 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
It was, of course, I've been fortunate enough to see them twice, and meet Miss Charlotte Wessels once. So.
Yeah, and that was kind of a impromptu meeting too. It wasn't a meet and greet or
no, they don't do that
backstage or anything. Yeah.
No, we just happened to be in Tampa Bay. And she was walking around, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute! I know who that is." And she doesn't. She doesn't. I said, "She doesn't look like she belongs here."
Yeah.
You know, very nice young lady, Miss Charlotte Wessels. Very pleasant. Couldn't ask for a nicer person. I remember the days of back in the late 70s, early 80s when some of my friends went to see Van Halen and they bumped into David Lee Roth and he acted like a total jerk towards them.
Yeah.
So I don't need to talk to you. I'm a star. And he didn't even give him the time of day. But that was not the case with Miss Charlotte. She was wonderful. She was a perfect lady.
I never really understood that. That was kind of like, I don't know if all people are like that, but I feel like in the 80s, definitely being a star meant that you were so much different than everybody else. It seems like that divide's gone now because people realize that the only reason you are a star is because of your fans.
Well, if you're on the level of Delain or Nightwish, you're not so popular that you can't rely on your fan base. And I don't think the bands that play that, I think they're musically talented enough so they understand and they realize that. Back in the 80s, a lot of bands and a lot of artists were nothing more than party, and they got into a lot of trouble. In the 70s, the same way. They'd go to places and they'd wreck hotels, and they would, and then finally one day, the record company just said, "Listen, we're not going to pay for this anymore. If you clean up your act, or you go find somebody else." I know that happened to Motley Crue. Right after the Girls, Girls, Girls album, the next tour, they said, "You guys are going to clean up your act. There will be no more ugly Americans touring all over Europe and giving us a bad name. You clean up your act, or you go find another record label." And they did. They cleaned up their act to a degree. Because the stuff that went on in the 70s and 80s was ridiculous. I had a friend who used to work at the Orpheum Theater in Boston.
Yeah.
And they came up with an award for the band that could trash a room the worst. And the worst one was REO Speedwagon, and they nicknamed them REO Trashwagon because they literally trashed their dressing rooms so bad and their hotel rooms so bad.
What's the point of that?
It was like the Keith Moon of the Who did it. He threw a television out a window.
Yeah, that's true.
Of his hotel. I mean, that's real brilliant,
Must not have gotten HBO.
I think it was before those days.
Right before HBO.
Doesn't that's just stupid.
Speedwagon. That just seems like the wrong band to be trashing hotel rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, they were called REO Trashwagon. They got the Orpheum Theater Award for most ingenious trashing of a dressing room, right down to taking onion, what would you call it, some sort of like a vegetable dip, and squashing it right into wall socket outlets. And that's how bad they got.
What? That's so weird.
Yeah.
What were they like as people? They were probably jerks.
Yeah. He said
if you're putting onion dip in the wall sockets, you can't be a cool person.
No.
Cool people, kids, don't put onion dip in electrical sockets.
No.
And cool people don't do that.
And live to tell about it.
Yeah. They use onion dip for celery like normal people.
Yeah. Well, it was... remember the song Joe Walsh did? I party hard. Oh, no.
Life's been good?
Life's been good, yeah. He says something about I stay in hotels, tear down the walls.
Yeah.
I have accountants pay for it all. Well, that doesn't go anymore.
No.
It just doesn't go anymore.
I think he was picking on that too, wasn't he?
But no,
was he like
he
that?
did. I guess back in the day, he and his bands did that.
Jeez.
I remember he was in the James Gang first, and then he went to the Eagles.
Eagles.
The James Gang was a good band with him.
Yeah, they were.
They were very good.
The Eagles were better with him.
I think so.
Yeah.
So,
I can't picture the Eagles trashing a hotel room either.
well,
That should be reserved for like Iron Maiden.
yeah. And yet, you really don't read about those bands like that.
Those guys were nice. They cleaned the dressing rooms. Foreigner came in and ripped the thing to shreds. Friggin' Foreigner.
Yeah, I never heard any stories about them. But you want to know how to tell when a band is a good, talented band that cares about their music and their fans is when you don't read about them in the tabloids.
Right.
If you don't read about them on Yahoo News, like recently Mariah Carey, they had to literally carry her out to the stage where she stood there and sang a little bit and couldn't even move because she was on something or other. I mean, when you don't, Joe Satriani, Joe Bonamassa, Steve Vai,
Yeah.
Kenny Wayne Shepherd, you don't read about those people in tabloids doing stupid things.
No.
That's when you know you've got a decent band with a decent bunch of people.
I remember that. Wasn't that Mariah's New Year's performance?
It's something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Oh, yeah. Yep, they even caught her lip syncing once. At any rate, moving to the little town of Bethlehem, since this is a Christmas special,
Oh, that's right, it is.
take it away, Todd.
I played in the town of Bethlehem last night, actually. So if I
Were
have bags,
the Romans still there?
they were not.
Oh,
no.
the Romans were gone, okay.
I played in the original manger that Jesus was born in, though. It's called the Wayside Inn.
And there was room.
There was plenty of room. I don't know what they were complaining about. There was plenty of rooms available for them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the donkeys and stuff, though.
Yeah, that was probably it.
They'd have to be outside.
Yeah.
No, Bethlehem, New Hampshire had me come down and play. They're doing kind of like it's a group called Believe in Bethlehem.
Oh.
And I guess it's kind of like what they're doing down here in Newport.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's that idea. They're just trying to keep Bethlehem. It was funny because I was talking to the lady and she's like, "Well, we just want to keep people believing in Bethlehem and keep up, the appearance of our town." And it's a beautiful town.
Yeah, it is. It's a cute little town.
It really is. It's tiny. I don't think. I mean, if you drive through there and blink, you're going to miss a lot of it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of they have the Colonial Theater there, which I don't know if you've ever been to a show there.
No, I haven't. What is it like?
It's they've renovated it a lot, and this is actually part of it. They're trying to raise money to keep renovating it, but it's an old movie theater on Main Street in Bethlehem, and I wonder if it sits like maybe 400 people, and they added onto it. They added some extra bathrooms. They added an extra wing where they have like a I don't want to say a cocktail room,
Mm-hmm.
so you can have a drink before the show or whatever. And then they have stands and they keep building onto it. I think what they're trying to do now is to actually get a green room and stuff behind the stage, because they don't do much this time of year other than show movies, because their green room is actually like a tent outside in the back of the building, so they can't really do it in the winter. But they have mid-sized level acts come through there, like Ani DeFranco. You've heard of her?
Yes, I have.
She was there. Who else was there this year? Leo Kottke.
Mm-hmm.
Kat Wright, actually, I believe, played there too. She's from Burlington. But they have acts like Livingston Taylor play at the Colonial, and they're doing really, really well. It's kind of what I always hoped the Haskell would become, because the Haskell is a much more beautiful building. But I mean, it's a rundown, but they redid all the seats in there, and It's definitely history in this building, and the outside of it looks old, like it looks like 1920s.
Oh, you mean in Bethlehem?
In Bethlehem, sorry.
Yeah, it still looks quite rustic.
Yeah, it does. It's got the marquee and everything. But they do a lot down there, and so they had kind of their Christmas party and trying to recruit new members, and they had me come down, and I sang for a couple hours, did some Christmas carols with them, ate some hors d'oeuvres, got to meet Santa Claus.
No.
Santa Claus requested a Hank Williams song. It's very different.
Oh, you played it for him?
I did. I learned that if if Santa Claus wants to hear Hank Williams, you have to play Hank Williams.
Yep. What would you have done, though, if he'd have said play Slayer?
I don't know. I would have just pretended.
Nah.
I would have, Googled some words and just went...
Angel of Death.
Yeah. It was cool, though. It's a neat little town, and I don't do a lot of those shows because you're kind of background music. Mm-hmm. But they treated me awesome. And like I said, hors d'oeuvres. The hors d'oeuvre guy was funny because he'd come up to me with the plate while I was singing and ask me if I wanted something. And I was just like... So then he just started putting stuff on my amp. So I had this little buffet on my amplifier. And I think there's crumbs and grease on it. I don't know. I haven't looked. But we also got our first snowstorm of the night.
Yeah.
And I had to drive in it. And it was a little rough.
Mm-hmm. Probably coming up 93 to 80 to 91, right?
Yeah, going down was worse. And 93 was
Well, that's because you're going
91.
downhill.
That's because you were going down. Yeah, maybe, actually. Now, it stopped snowing a little bit. But 93 wasn't as well taken care of as 91.
That figures.
Yeah.
They're New Hampshire, that's why.
They said, welcome to New Hampshire, and then it was just a sheet of ice.
Yep.
My GPS says that.
Oh.
Welcome to New Hampshire. Thank you. It scares the hell out of you, though, because you're not expecting it.
Yeah, for sure.
I get to play in Bethlehem and meet Santa.
You've got another gig coming up, too, don't you? First night in St. Johnsbury.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've never done that before.
Whereabouts are you playing in St. Johnsbury?
The Catamount Arts.
Oh, I know what that is, yeah.
Yep, I'm in theater, too. I'm not sure... they have a map, and I haven't really looked at it on their website, and it shows you where everything is. I think Theater 1 is Fuller Hall. Theater 2 is the actual Catamount Arts building. Mm-hmm. You said you'd never been to First Night in St. J?
I did with my wife, Barbara, before we were married. I think we'd only been going together, 5 months. Yeah. And we went to it, and I can vaguely remember. I remember some band was playing, and it was colder than hell that night. It was really, really cold.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of the downside. You never know what the weather's going to be like December 31st, but
yeah,
it seems like it's really grown into this thing. They have over 100 different performers. They have comedians and jugglers and musicians, and they have food vendors, and they have theater stuff and dancing, and you get this itinerary, and you walk around the town, and different places are open. I think the Universalist Unitarian Church is one of the spaces,
mm-hmm.
and then I guess it's family friendly. There's no alcohol,
mm-hmm.
so it's one of the factors in me picking where I want to play. Not that I mind being around alcohol, but if I don't have to be, that's a bonus.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, especially driving at midnight or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's you can control you, but unfortunately, if somebody else is under the influence, they're a danger to everybody.
That is true. And sometimes as a musician, there's no way of getting around it. But I weighed between applying for the Burlington one or the St. J one. And St. J one because it's closer.
Mm-hmm.
And, because I didn't have to worry about that. It's family friendly. I guess I can't swear on stage, but I don't tend to do that anyway.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't. But I think they asked me not to.
Oh, okay.
So I'll try hard. But and then at the end of the night, I guess you go up. I don't even know that street. Main Street's up here. Railroad Street's down here. And then
I know which one you mean, but I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah. But actually, on Main Street, they have. I guess they drop a ball. I guess they have a crane that has a ball on it, and they drop the ball, and then they shoot off fireworks at midnight.
Cool.
So, yeah, I played 2 shows. I play at 6 p.m., 6 to 7, and then I play from 10 to 11.
Now, I'm hoping that you'll get a good crowd for moshing.
I think so. I think the Catamount building's set up for that. Yeah, I should bring an electric guitar.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my concerns, is if it is super, super cold. I want to see the ball drop, but I also don't want to leave my guitar in the car at 10 below or whatever. So I'll have to see what happens there. But it would be nice to see. I figure I get done at 11. By the time I pack up, it's 11:30.
Yep.
I might as well kick around a half an hour and ring in the new year with Dick Clark or whoever is counting it down.
Yeah.
Probably not him.
Not him anymore. I think he's passed, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he is.
The last time I saw him, though, because of his stroke, he was trying really hard to sound like he used to, and he couldn't pull it off because strokes really devastate you.
Yeah, he had a stroke, and like 4 or 5 months after, he actually counted down the. I think he did it 2 or 3 times before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ryan Seacrest does it now, or something. But I don't know who counts it down. But I'm really excited for it because Catamount Arts does a lot of really great things, and I've always kind of wanted to get in with them. So hopefully, I'll get my foot in the door.
They would have Ozzy Osbourne do it, but he can't count backwards anyway. He'd be going.
10.
Sharon.
That would be awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, you can go on their website. I don't even know what it is, and it tells you the list of events. They have performances and stuff going on from like 4 o'clock in the afternoon right up until the ball drops, and it's family friendly. It's food, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for that. I don't know what parking's going to be like, but
probably it'll be a little rough.
Yeah, I might go down early and try to get a good parking space.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
I got to fit my tour bus in somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to park the tour bus.
I know, and all your road crew. Naturally.
Oh yeah, I've got a big road crew. You think Bonamassa's got a crew?
By the way, the place that you're playing, does it have a sound system in there and everything?
It does. Yeah, I don't know what, but they have a sound system.
Okay.
So I just have to show up and plug in.
Good. That's always helpful.
Yeah, that makes it so much nicer.
Yeah, that is. You don't see very much of it in Vermont, but in I know that Massachusetts, New York, and Florida, a band comes into a place and there's a system there.
Yep.
And if you bring extra, fine. But when we saw the Queen tribute band in Florida last April, they were at Northwest Florida State University or college. And they had a huge JBL system in there, and they brought L-Acoustic with it, and it sounded really good.
Oh, they mixed the two?
Yeah, the JBLs had the power. That room was surprisingly, I don't know what you'd say, surprisingly large. You walked in there and you didn't think it was anything, overwhelming, but boy, they had to push those speakers to fill the sound. It was incredible. I have to admit that was if you have the right engineer, you can make JBL sound good, and if you don't know what you're doing, JBLs are not forgiving. They do not forgive. I'll give you an example. When I used to build my own speaker cabinets, and I built PA speakers for people, if you missed up on the specs of the box, a JBL speaker would not forgive you. It would sound horrible. Electro voices are very forgiving. You make a mistake, it still sounds pretty good.
I wonder why that is.
I'm not even sure what that is either, but I know that the couple times that I've seen concerts with JBLs, sometimes it's been horrific and sometimes it's been good.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever... No, I've definitely played places with JBL.
Yeah. They've been around a long time. I don't even know how old the company is, but first time I heard of them was back in the 1960s. And, that's been a company that's been around a long time.
It is nice to sound system, though.
Oh, yeah.
If you're planning on opening up a coffee shop or a music venue, it would behoove you to get a sound system.
Yeah, 40,000 watt line array would do it.
Yeah, no, you don't need to spend that much. A lot of the places I play out of state have their own. Mm-hmm. And it's nice because I don't have to carry a whole lot of stuff with me.
Yeah.
When I do, I have to bring my own.
Isn't the Parker Pie over by the airport?
They have sound system.
They have a sound system. Although
well, I don't think that one's open anymore.
Yeah, I think that one's gone.
They did have a great one. The Parker Pie and Glover has a sound system.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of, some places do, some don't. It's always good to ask first, I suppose.
Definitely. You don't want to walk in there and you got the 20,000 seat arena and no sound system.
Yeah, and a Fender Passport.
That reminds me of a good story. I was watching the story of the Beatles. And
I saw that. I watched 8 days a week? Or is this a different one?
I think it was a different one.
Okay.
And they were talking about the last time they played Shea Stadium.
Yes.
All right, Shea Stadium. You know, you got 50,000 seats, 55,000 seats. It's open. And Vox made them beefed up amplifiers that were 100 watts. And they sang through their guitar amps, and they put a microphone in front of it and put it out the PA system. So essentially it sounded like 1,000 transistor radios. That's what the guy who did the documentary, that's what he said. Like, and it's like, that doesn't go anymore. That sort of stuff just does not go anymore. You know. No,
I did watch that. That was the Ron Howard thing.
He did a good job, didn't he?
I watched it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's one of the best Beatles documentaries that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And one reason why is because Ron Howard had the money to actually play their music. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of documentaries where they have to do sound-alikes because they can't afford the rights. But yeah, it's pretty crazy that a band like the Beatles was playing through 100-watt Vox amplifiers and
singing through them.
And singing through them. That's what my high school band did. Because we didn't have a PA. We had to sing through our guitar amps.
That was one of the reasons the Beatles stopped playing.
Yeah.
One reason was everywhere they played, the sound systems were horrible, and the crowd was so loud they couldn't even hear themselves.
I know. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. Nowadays, you can be loud and you can scream all you want. That PA system's going to beat you.
Yeah.
The sound systems now you're not going to outpower them.
Paul and Ringo must think back to those days because they've lived up to this point where they can see all the advances. John Lennon got to see a little bit of the.
Yeah, he died in 1980, didn't he?
Yeah, John and George got to see a little bit of the advancement, but it must be night and day for McCartney now.
Yeah.
In-ear monitors.
Yep. Yeah, and you've got, like I said, you don't have to, the young girls can scream all they want. It doesn't matter. You've got monitors, and you've got, you've got line array systems, and, it doesn't matter how many people you got. You're not going to out-scream them.
Do you think the young girls still scream for Paul McCartney?
Who knows?
I would. I'd scream for Paul McCartney.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
Hurt my throat. I'm too old anyway. So wrapping it up, our year-end review. I'm going to try to find a Delain video to play at the end of this from the new concert DVD. They haven't released anything independently as far as songs that I have been able to find off YouTube or anything from this particular concert. But if I find one, I will play it, and if I don't, I'll find some other song to play for you. But we're going to wrap it up with a year in review, and we've talked about a lot of things this year.
We have. I don't even know if I can remember everything.
I don't remember when we started this, but we started with the 50s.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we?
I think it was in 1950 we started it.
We did.
Yeah, I was born in 1951, so we could have.
I didn't join you for some years. That's awesome. Yeah, we did. We started. We talked about all the different decades of music. We talked about formats of music.
Oh yeah.
Sound systems is something we talk about.
Oh yeah.
I think we have to go back to the dates of Mozart and what they were using for sound systems.
Yes. The Haskell.
The theater. Yeah, the Haskell. Yeah, exactly. That's how those places were built back then.
Yeah. Well. Some of the places that you see bands really aren't made for that sort of thing, and some are definitely made for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some. I mean, and you've been to this place too. It's probably the worst place to see a show, but the Memorial Auditorium in Burlington.
Yes, I saw Blue Oyster Cult there in
Yeah.
1986.
It's like the municipal building in Newport,
Yeah.
only bigger, and the
Yeah.
sound sucks.
Oh yeah. Those places are not made for music.
No, but I've seen some good people there.
Oh really? Yeah. Like I said, I saw Blue Oyster Cult, and
Nice.
they literally shook the rafters of the building that day.
I bet they did. There is a balcony up there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But then the Flynn is definitely a beautiful theater.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That room isn't overly alive either. It's pretty neutral.
Yeah, it really is. That used to be a movie theater too.
Yes, it was.
That's
It
a
was-
huge movie theater.
Yeah, it was a movie theater, and I remember in 1988, I believe it was, they on closed circuit TV they had professional wrestling at WrestleMania 4
Oh yeah.
or 5 or something like that. Yeah, I remember that they used to do that for movies and then pay-per-views. Of course, it wasn't pay-per-views. Like I said, it was closed circuit TV.
Right.
So
Do they still do movies there?
I'm not even sure what they do there.
That'd be interesting to see a movie at the Flynn.
Yeah, that's a big movie
You
theater
could
for
put
sure.
in a huge screen there.
Yeah, yep, for sure. I know that some of your bigger places, for example, I've been to IMAX theaters, and I'm not even sure how many people they hold, but I know the T-Rex in Essex says about 400. And,
Yeah.
and that's a good size. I think
is a
IMAXs
good size.
might be bigger. Sure.
Probably. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about different recording formats. We've talked
Yep.
about sound systems and the advancement in sound systems, and that's where it had to go.
You just reminded me. I didn't even think of this. This lady, when I was getting ready to leave at Bethlehem last night, I said, she was really nice, and she sat there and she sang along to a bunch of the Christmas stuff. And so before she was leaving, I said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a CD, since you you were right with me the whole time." And she's like, "Oh," and she looked at her husband. "Do we have a CD player?" And he goes, "Yeah, we've got one in the car." And she goes, "You don't have 8-track, do you?" And she was obviously joking. And I said, No. I certainly do not have this on 8-track. But she, they still listen to cassettes and vinyl.
Huh.
She said, "Don't listen to my CD, but it'll have to be in the car because I don't have a CD player." And I didn't know that still existed.
Huh.
I mean, most people listen to music on this now.
Yeah, and that's not the best way to listen to music.
No, it's not. But that's sadly.
For all you folks out there, as they say in Ontario,
Out.
I have a big ass system in my car,
You do.
and it's 2, 4, 6, 7 speakers,
Yep.
subwoofer. It's probably 500-600 watts or something. And to me, I can't listen to music on one of those little things. It doesn't cut it for me.
No.
And in my house, I have a couple of different units. I have a home theater, and plus I have my mixing production booth and like that.
Yep.
So to me, speakers are very important. Amplifiers are very important, and
Me too.
there's definitely good ones and there's definitely bad ones. And unfortunately, most of the stuff that you get in a lot of your box stores is junk. Most of it is junk.
Oh yeah, and they're not. You really have to. You have to spend a lot of money now. I said to get a system which was probably a mediocre system in the '80s. You would have to spend a lot of money on nowadays to get that.
Oh yeah.
Because they're pushing. I mean, Bluetooth's like the thing now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get your phone connected to a Bluetooth speaker the size of this coffee cup, and
Yeah.
or earbuds. That's what most people are doing now. I can't
Yeah.
do it, but you can plug your phone into your car system.
Yeah, I wear earbuds only on my MP3 player when I'm on the treadmill at the gym. Other than that,
Yeah.
I don't use earbuds. I don't like them.
I don't either, and I honestly walk, and I put earbuds in, and I listen to podcasts. I listen to people talking because music just sounds like
Yeah, crap.
yeah, exactly. That's what it sounds like on. And you can't turn them up too loud; or you'll blow your eardrums out.
Yeah, I know. And if you want it to sound good, you'd have to have really, really good headphones.
They
And
make them
and they would be very uncomfortable
on the treadmill,
on
especially.
a treadmill, especially. Right? Yeah, and I know some people that have some small on-ear ones, and they would probably be good enough.
I guess Beats makes an earbud that's supposedly really incredible, but it also costs like $200.
Yeah.
I'm not spending $200 on earbuds.
Nope, me neither.
Pizza, yes. Earbuds.
Now that's another story.
Soundcheck is going to become Pizza Talk next year.
Yes, and Ramontos only.
We're only talking about one place,
and maybe Parker Pie, but
okay.
We're not promoting anybody, but we're promoting somebody.
There you go.
So, anyways, it's been a great year.
It has.
We've loved bringing this show to you, and I don't know where this T-shirt came from. I don't know who this band is. I've never heard of them. Have you?
ABBA, yeah.
ABBA.
Yeah, they're great.
ABBA and Costello.
ABBA and Costello. Those guys trashed the hotel rooms. When ABBA and Elvis Costello came to town, watch out.
Yeah, you had ABBA and Costello, and it was mayhem.
Those two should have gone tour together. That would have been funny.
Yeah, it would.
ABBA and Costello on tour. I mean, not a good mix, but...
Speaking of Nightwish and ABBA and Costello, one of Nightwish's former singers, Annette Olsen, just released a CD that is really good.
Yeah?
And she's from Sweden.
Oh, yeah, you played me a song or that.
Yeah, and in her own element, she's very good.
Yep.
When she tried to sing the songs that Tarja Turunen played, she didn't have that type of operatic voice, but when she does her own style, it is very, very good. She makes some excellent music.
Yeah.
So check out the new Annette Olsen album, too.
Absolutely.
This is Terry Difazio for Soundcheck, and as always, we'll catch you on the flip side. See you next year.
Now tell me, Paradiso, do you guys have some fire in you?